This has kind of been a topic of conversation around our circles as far as real estate goes and things like that. But we get the question because you do find sometimes when you're trying to purchase a house, maybe you're trying to sell a house, this is going to happen either way. But you get a contract on the home for a particular price, and that home is contingent upon it appraising for a certain value, meaning whatever the purchase price of the house is going to be. There's a contingency that says this home has to appraise for this value before this contract can literally go on. But sometimes we find that it don't always appraise. Sometimes for different reasons. There could be a lot of them. Maybe the value's just not there. Maybe there's some things that needs to happen to the house for it to raise and come to that value, but it doesn't reach it. It doesn't appraise. We get asked the question, hey, my house don't appraise. What do I do? Like, what happens if I put an offer in on this property and it does not appraise? Am I locked in? Am I stuck? Is this something that I literally have to do? So I'm going to give you that information today. There's actually 3 things I'm going to talk about. Now, there's a multitude of things that you can do that goes on past some of these 3 things, but these are the most common things that you see happen if your house does not appraise. All right. Now, again, as I always like to say, this is not financial or legal advice. This is just one man's opinion to tell you some things that we've seen done before when a home does not appraise. Like the video, share the video, invite your friends to the video, comment on the video. Charlie says, I like to watch a movie because if I go to read a book, I fall asleep. I'm with you on that, Charlie. I do the same thing sometimes. Let me know where you're at out there today. Put where you're watching from in the box. Here's the first thing that we're going to talk about. If your home doesn't appraise, the home you're selling, the home you're buying doesn't appraise, what is the first thing that can happen? So the first thing that can happen is the buyer, the person purchasing the house, they can literally cover the difference in cash. They can make that up in a cash transaction where they can say, look, we're trying to get it for $100,000. It only appraised for $90,000. Wouldn't you like to buy a house today for $90,000? But what do? Well, we're going to pay the difference in cash. So the buyer looks at it and they say, I'm going to make up that difference in cash. I'm going to just pay the difference. So the bank's going to loan me $90,000. I'm going to take $10,000 of my own money and I'm going to make up the difference because I really want this house. I really want this property. So we see sometimes what happens is they go back to the negotiating table and everybody says, look, the seller's got, I'm not going to drop the price. The buyer's like, okay, I will pay the difference in cash. So that is something that on most standard purchase and sale contracts, agreements, you can look at it and say, I'm going to pay the difference. That's the first thing that you can do. The second thing that you can do when it looks at, okay, my home did not appraise, what do I need to do? The second thing that you can see and is done is you can negotiate a price reduction. So you can look at it and say, okay, I'm the buyer of this property and I don't have the $10,000. I don't have the $5,000 in cash reserves on hand that I can just make up that difference. So I'm going to go now back to the seller and I'm going to say, look, your house that I'm trying to buy, it didn't meet appraisal. The value wasn't there. It didn't come up to what it needs to be. I still want to purchase your house. However, the bank is only going to lend me up to the appraisal amount of the property. We're $5,000 off from the asking price. We're $10,000 off from the asking price. So I am going to get you, or I'm going to ask you, would you drop the price of your house or your property to the appraised value? Sometimes sellers look at that and they say, well, I've got a person, I'm this close to the deal, I'm only this much apart between appraisal and contract price. They'll look at that and say, sure, I'll drop the price. I'll come down from whatever the contract price was to the appraisal amount. We'll do an amendment to the contract. We'll go right on as if there's no problems whatsoever, and we will make sure that this deal closes. That's the second thing that we see done a lot of times. So the first one is you're going to cover the difference in cash. The buyer's going to look at it and say, hey, I'm covering the difference between this purchase price and this appraisal value. I'm covering this difference in cash. That's done. The contract's amended. We move forward. The second thing that you see done, again, is what to do if an appraisal comes in low. We go back to the negotiating table and we negotiate a price reduction. meaning the seller is going to drop the price down to what the appraised amount is. So those are two things. I'm going to give you the third, but I want to give a shout out today since the people just come in. Hello, Norma. Good afternoon to you. Hello, Luke Wagner from up in Greenville working today, maybe. I'd say that's where you may be, at your office up there. Good afternoon to you. Make sure if you guys have not done so yet, you play the Would You Rather question today, which is, would you rather read a book or would you rather watch a movie? If you pick a book, tell us what your favorite book is to read. If you pick a movie, tell us what that favorite movie is for you to watch. Again, I'm talking about today, Dave's not here, he's down in Georgia. I'm talking to you today about what happens if I put a contract out, if I get a contract on my house, get a contract on my property, and the appraisal comes in lower than the contract amount. First thing you can do is you can cover the difference in cash. The second thing you can do is negotiate a price reduction. The third thing that we see that happens along some of those three. Now again, there's a lot of things you can do. These are the most common three. The third thing that you can do is you can look at it and say, you know what? I don't have the cash reserves. The seller's not willing to come down and reduce the price of the property, reduce the price of the house. So we're literally just going to terminate this contract. We're going to look at it and say the contract was contingent upon the value that we're giving, the purchase price, and the appraisal price, the appraisal either equaling or exceeding the purchase price of that house. So nobody's going to give. We don't have the cash funds to go forward. So we're literally just going to terminate this contract. If you had a contingency in that contract that it was contingent upon the appraisal value, either equaling or exceeding the agreed upon purchase price, you then would have the right to terminate that contract. Now, usually for all parties involved, you don't really want to get that close and terminate the contract. However, if that was a contingency in your contract, you definitely have that right that you can do that. So you want to make sure that when you're writing contracts on houses that you're also got protections for yourself if you're a seller, for yourself if you're a buyer. That's why it's always a good idea to make sure you're working with a qualified professional, whether that be a real estate agent, whether that be a realtor, whether that be an attorney, but you got somebody out there that makes sure you've got these protections built into your offer, to your purchase and sale agreement, that should things like this pop up, you say, well, does this happen? You better believe that it happens, especially with prices growing in our area, prices rising in our area. We are seeing sometimes that the price of the house does not meet the appraisal amount and something has to be done. What is that something that has to be done? It can be one of these three things, but also I'm telling you this because a lot of it depends on what is done or what can be done. It's all dependent and contingent upon what is written in your purchase and sale agreement. If you're working with a realtor, such as an agent here at Elite Realty Group, we always use a contract that gives you that option to make sure you make this offer contingent upon that happening. Highly, 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 if you're getting a loan on a property, recommend to you that you make it contingent upon the purchase price either equaling or exceeding the agreed upon, or the appraisal, either equaling or exceeding the agreed upon purchase price. That is the real estate information for you today. What do I do if an appraisal comes in low? What are my options? What are some things that can happen? Here are three things for you. If you're just now catching me, make sure you go back and catch the replay to make sure you see all of this information. Luke Wagner is weighing in on the Would You Rather question. He says he's going to watch a movie and it's going to be Top Gun. So I'm assuming, Luke, the big new Top Gun that I hear is coming out soon. John Thornton, by the way, couldn't believe that I've never seen Top Gun, never seen that movie. But I'm assuming that you're going to go be watching the big new Top Gun movie that is coming out shortly. Again, like the video, share the video, invite your friends to the video, comment on the video. This is episode number 219 of Lakeway Area Real Estate Talk Live, presented by your friends at Elite Realty Group right here out of beautiful Morristown, Tennessee. I'm going to take a short commercial break and beg you for some listing inventory because we need listings here at Elite Realty Group to be able to service all of the clients throughout the Lakeway area.